All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have some amazing guests lined up. And, you know, I feel like I got to say this. Tonight is not about channels. It's not about likes, subscribes. It's nothing about that. Tonight is all about celebrating the life and the legacy of a true rock icon. And I just want to say I'm so glad that all of you are here with us today. As you get settled in, why don't you go ahead and leave in the comments where you're from, what your favorite Ozzy album is in the chat. It could be a classic record from the Sabbath days or something maybe a little bit later in the solo years. We'd love to hear from you. Let's see here. Let me get everybody so you can see who is here with us. We got a great live community, which I'll introduce everybody here in a moment. I do want to start out with something real quick, though, if I may.
Oh man, this sounds
pondering.
serious.
He's pondering.
I'm getting emotional. I usually don't get emotional on these things. It's kind of weird. Sorry. I wanted to say that, Ozzy wasn't just a rock star. I mean, he was rock. And from the birth of heavy metal all the way to the madness of the MTV era, I mean, he was just one of those rare artists that could shock the world and inspire it all at the same time. And, when I think about him, he gave us iconic records, unforgettable moments for sure, and a sound that really shaped generations. And I think tonight it's not about mourning loss, it's about celebrating a legacy that will never fade.
Louis, we could probably talk for an hour just listing the bands and artists that were inspired by him and Black Sabbath.
Absolutely.
They did Black Sabbath before there was a Black Sabbath,
Yeah. Well, we got plenty of time to get into all that. Elliot, thanks for joining us. Appreciate that. All right. So on the show tonight, we got Larry and Todd from Graybeard's Nation.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Thanks for having us. And we're also multicasting on our channel as well as yours, and on Mitch's Vinyl Corner as well.
Yep. We also have Mitch from Mitch's Vinyl Corner. Thank you, Mitch. And we have the man who needs no introduction, Mr. Mazzy.
I'm the unlikely guest, and I'm only here because I'm as old enough to have seen Black Sabbath twice, in 1970 once, and 1972. I'll get into that a little bit. And I even acknowledged to Louis early on when we were emailing, I didn't really follow them after the Black Sabbath Ozzy stuff. So I will bow out when it's not things I don't know about. So I'm a tasteful person. But I will say one thing. I did just watch that. I don't know how I missed it. That Amnesty International video when he recorded the John Lennon song, How, that popped up. I had never seen that. And that brought a tear to me when I saw that video. So I'll leave it at that for now.
And Mazzy, you're fresh out of a Devo concert too, from what I'm understanding.
Last night, yesterday.
One of the bands that was not inspired by Black Sabbath.
We don't know.
I don't think you could go to Seven Shades or the Seven Steps.
No.
Devo to Black Sabbath, but whatever.
Well, we really appreciate everybody coming in. As you get settled, go ahead and share in the comments where you're from. Maybe share your first Ozzy or Sabbath memory, your favorite album and why, or if you saw Ozzy live, what concert it was in. We'll go ahead and pull your comments up on the screen. Speaking of the early years, I tell you, man, you put all the crazy Ozzy stuff aside for a moment and just look at the man who grew up poor as poor can be, who could barely have clothes that fit on his back, that couldn't even use the facilities in his own house, right? Didn't really have talent per se at the time, or, just everybody said he wasn't a good singer, all the people who knew him. And he built an empire when you think about it, right? He founded heavy metal. He became a TV celebrity. He became a household name. And he's a legend. I mean, just from nothing, from like a true rag to riches story, but always humble at the same time. Just such an amazing person, like the real man's man, if you will, in a sense of like anybody can make it. Anybody could be a rock star and be on stage. I don't know.
Can you imagine the clout that a lead guitarist would feel like when Ozzy went solo? Imagine the clout of being a lead guitarist and being green lighted to be Ozzy's lead guitarist. That's like, you know, being a wide receiver for Tom Brady on the New England Patriots. You know, it's if you've done that, you know you got chops. You know people are going to hear it, and you're going to be a star. And he's had many lead guitarists that have gone on to other things because of the thrill and honor of playing with Ozzy, especially after he left Black Sabbath.
Yeah, but I mean, even when he's Tony Iommi, I mean, an incredible guitar player.
Yeah.
And then Randy Rhoads, right? I think he said one time, and I don't know if this is the exact quote, but one of the quotes he had said was, Randy Rhoads saved my musical career, and Sharon saved my life. I think it was something like that. It's paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, man. How terrible way to go too with that plane crash.
Yeah. You know, he was, I don't know if I have this exactly correct. And if I don't, I'm sure somebody will correct me either here in the audience, but the plane was whizzing down over Ozzy's bus where Ozzy was sleeping.
It clipped
and, you know, and the third time, that was it. Too close and
Yikes.
boom.
That's scary.
Yeah, just terrible.
Apparently, in the autopsy, they said that the pilot had cocaine in his system, but Randy himself only had nicotine. Because apparently Ozzy said like Randy wasn't like a big druggy type; he just wanted to play guitar. So,
I mean,
that's even more tragic, isn't it? Todd, I mean, you know.
Yeah, no, it is. That's ridiculous. I mean, you'd think cocaine would make you fly better, but maybe, I don't know.
Not in a plane.
So, I'm sorry. That's bad.
Too soon.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll stop.
Well, Elfvision pulls up a really good point. I mean, the fact that Ozzy got to perform just weeks before he went to the other side, I think, from a guy who was really passionate about being on stage and was always vocal that he's never going to retire as long as there's a stage for him. I think if he went out anyway, that would be the way to go out, man, by performing till the very last moment.
Agreed. You know, if anybody actually watched that show, the Osbournes, where, you know, they were on TV and everything, I remember watching it a few times and watching him get around with his cane and everything. And I'm thinking, well, he's obviously about to die. He doesn't have a lot more time. He can barely walk. In the show, there were times he could barely talk.
Yeah.
And yet that wasn't the end for him. When it came time to get on stage, it was like the old show must go on mentality took over Ozzy, and he went out and put on a great show with usually a great lead guitarist too.
Yeah, that's very fair. So we're asking the folks that are participating at home, you know, what was the first time you heard Ozzy? But I'd like to get everybody else's opinion on this as well. Maybe Mitch, you've been a little bit quiet. Do you remember the first time you heard Ozzy, whether it was Sabbath or something else?
I remember hearing Sabbath on, you know, the radio. I'm 39 years old, and you know, my mom and dad, you know, grew up in that era where Black Sabbath was really big in the 60s and 70s, and I can remember hearing them, you know, pretty early on in my life. You know, Paranoid, Iron Man, you know, we're constantly on the radio, but I really didn't get a whole much more appreciation for them until later on. And honestly, as weird as it may sound, when I joined the Marine Corps, because Black Sabbath is good going to war music.
Yeah,
it is. It might be
interesting way to talk.
Todd, you were in the Navy, so
I was.
You kind of understand. Like Black Sabbath is good going to war music, and then
it was.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was really good, and that's when I really started delving into the later years of Sabbath, and I pretty much am a purist too. Like anything after Mob Rules, I'm really not. I don't follow Sabbath really after that. I think it was that and the Dio years, and then I just kind of lose track from there. But yeah, that was my first memory of Black Sabbath. And hearing him in the movie Heavy Metal way back in the day.
That was very cool.
Yeah,
very
even
cool.
though that was the Dio era.
Yep.
I can remember hearing, I'm like, wait, this is Black Sabbath? Where's Ozzy? And then I'm like, oh, they kicked Ozzy out of the band in '79 and they got Dio.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and then I started researching that too. So, yeah, from an early age, hearing them on the radio. And then when I joined the Marine Corps, all the guys we were all playing Black Sabbath. So,
What about you? Go ahead, Larry.
No, I was just going to say, like we were talking before we went live, to me, it's similar to the Van Halen, with the David Lee Roth and the Sammy Hagar, and people feel, oh, I only like this part of their catalog and I only like this part. And to me, I love it all. I love the Ozzy years, and I love the Dio years. But they were different. The Ozzy years were groundbreaking, and the Dio years were just fantastic to listen to. Two differences, but doesn't mean either one was, in my opinion, better than the other. Unless you look at groundbreaking is better than just great to listen to.
You didn't like the Ian Gillan years with Born Again?
No, I did
Come
not.
on.
Yeah.
I love
going
I
nowhere.
have it right there at my front door. I know Mazzy. He's actually been to the concert back when the Sabbath early days.
I was trying to think.
That's what I'm really looking for.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I first bought the first album very soon. I grew up. I'm that generation. I grew up with obviously the Beatles and rock and roll and the psychedelic stuff in San Francisco. And I remember seeing that album cover in a record store. It probably was Tower Records at Columbus and Bay. And I can't remember if I heard it, because I was also into buying records because of the covers, and it looked really psychedelic to me. And when I got it, obviously the heaviest of it, but I was attracted more. What I thought at the time, or what I felt at the time, was it was dark, it was moody, it was psychedelic and dirgy, and I liked that. And I had been for a couple of years into Led Zeppelin and that stuff. And I think that up until that, the heaviest record that I had that I loved, and I know there's arguments with you metalheads about the first metal album, but I know it's not metal, but to me was Summertime Blues and Vincimus Eruptum by Blue Cheer. Now, it's a different thing completely, but it's one of those heavy records. But I remember getting that first album, and I turned 16 in 1970, got my license in August, and my buddies, I think I first went to the Fillmore West, which is separate than the Fillmore. Bill Graham moved the facility but the Fillmore West, the Zeppelin show, I never saw that, but I realized I saw Black Sabbath before I saw Led Zeppelin. I didn't see Led Zeppelin until '73. And so I went to that show, but I didn't go to see Black Sabbath. In fact, they didn't even headline that show. And I was trying to remember it. I looked up the set list just to see. I don't remember the songs. They were the middle band. The opening band, I have no recollection of seeing, and I might have come late or something, but was Sugarloaf. Remember Green Eyed Lady?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
That was a
great
big
song.
hit. I had that single. I love that song, poppy and little poppy psychedelic. But Black Sabbath was the middle group, and the band I went to see who headlined was the James Gang. And
Nice.
it was their second album that had come out, Rides Again, I guess that's the one. And I was really into the James Gang for a while, and then I don't think I really knew the personality of Joe Walsh. We didn't know Joe Walsh from his solo stuff yet, and of course not even the Eagles stuff. But so I went to see them, and I was trying to think. I remember them just being very loud and great, but I was not again, I've never been an obsessive fan of Black Sabbath, although I always liked them, and I got all their Ozzy albums as they came out. And part of the time was working in the record stores. And, any of you have ever worked in a record store, there's always like the metalhead, the guy that's in the Scorpions and the German stuff. There's the folky singer songwriter. There's everything. You get everything, depending where you are. And in San Francisco, of course, I was one of the to me, it was Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, Quicksilver initially, and then the CSNY, the West Coast stuff, that kind of stuff. But I also like heavier stuff. But I did see them also, and I was looking up the set list again. Winterland was the place I saw probably more shows than anything in the 70s because shows were $4. I think I don't remember how much this show was, but the Stones with Stevie Wonder's 72 Exile was $5.50. So we'd go to 2 shows a week at Winterland, and you just walked in. There was no seat. It was used to be an old ice rink, ice follies, ice capades kind of venue that Bill Graham took over. And that's when they headlined. And I looked it up because I had totally forgot. The opening act for that was Wild Turkey, which I hated. And I know it's the guy from Jethro Tull. I didn't like them for some reason at the time, but I kind of went, again, not specifically for Black Sabbath, who headlined, but for the middle band was Yes when Fragile came out. So I went to Yes, and I fucking love Yes. But what's great about it is Black Sabbath did a longer set than they had, because when you do a middle set, if you're lucky, if you get an hour, I don't remember how long they played. I looked it up. They played 10 songs in 1970 and 14 songs in 72. So I remember, seeing Ozzy on that stage was pretty amazing because, the darkness of him, I know we all seen clips and stuff, but I never really followed him after that. I never saw him again. I never saw Ozzy solo, and I never bought an Ozzy album. That's why I feel like a poser here with you guys.
What turned you off, Mazzy?
No, it didn't turn me off.
No.
You know what it is? My taste in music, or the records I was buying, just took a different path. Some might say, I really got into even in the late 60s, I was into Graham Parsons and the Flying Burrito Brothers and the Byrds. And then I was into that type of stuff. And then as time went on, in terms of, it's not that I don't like loud or heavy music, but for me, 77, 76 actually changed things for me with the Ramones and punk and going to the Mabuhay and seeing, Dead Kennedys. And we were just talking, I saw Devo in 77 and 78 at the Fab Mab. And I would see Fear, and I would see all the LA bands and the Damned and the Clash and Sex Pistols show at Winterland I saw. So I was in for the loud, like rock stuff. To me, punk spoke to me for whatever reason. I wasn't a punk guy with, the punk look. I was probably more new wavy, but I just never grabbed onto it. And it's not that I hated it. And whenever I did go, my buddy worked for Polygram, and was it 77 or 78? You guys could figure out. At the Cow Palace, I saw Kiss. And I never, I wasn't really into Kiss, but live, it was fucking great.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't play it at home. He gave me promos. So I remember he gave me one day all the 4 separate, Kiss solo albums with the same face. I had promo copies of that for like 10 years until I sold them off or something. Probably should have kept them, but I don't know. It's just, your paths go. And being in San Francisco, it's so funny. The San Francisco crowd wasn't a heavy metal crowd. The San Jose crowd, the Peninsula, where they were more into heavy and rock, the heavier rock stuff. Just, I don't know what it is. The urban guys, there are exceptions, obviously. It's not across the board. So
I remember the radio station in San Jose, KOME. I used to live in, don't touch that dial, it's got cum on it.
Exactly. KOME and KSJO played more of the heavier stuff, rock and roll stuff. KSAN was more, KSAN broke Elvis Costello in America. And I was getting into that type of, those kind of British artists and stuff. And that's what I got into. So it wasn't that I was turned off by Ozzy or that whole thing. I was into Deep Purple. I saw Deep Purple very early. In fact, before my friend's father brought us to this San Francisco Pop Festival in Alameda, and Deep Purple played, but that was when Hush came out. So that was before Ian Gillan was in the band. Was it John? What's his name? You guys know who he is, right? Who's the singer? The original singer?
The original singer? We can find out.
Ron Evans. Come on. Anyway, so I saw them, and I liked that because I liked Hush. I liked that first album, and I bought the Deep Purple albums all the way through Made in Japan, I think. So that's my
Rob Evans is right.
Yeah, Rod Evans. There we
go. You're right on.
So
I don't know. I feel like it's breakfast time. I just heard Bob Evans, I think, and so
Jeez.
Is
It's
that
old man.
NPR? No, was it?
It's old man jokes. Come on.
Hey,
As you
Mazzy,
gotta get to
I'm
know
an
you.
old man.
I'm going to just take 20 seconds because
Or
it's
me.
not Ozzy related, but you had mentioned the James Gang and Rides Again release. I don't know if you're familiar at all with the release of that album and the recording of that album.
Yeah, the
But
Bolero thing.
the Bolero thing, right? I have 3 copies of that album with the original, whole thing with the Bolero in it, which was at one point in time, it was kind of hard to get. And anytime I saw it, I bought it, hoping it was a little better shape than the last copy I bought. But interesting that you know that. That's
Unfortunately,
great.
in 1995, I had about 6,000 albums because being in the record business for 10 years, I'd get promos, and I'm a constant to this day. But I purged a third of my vinyl. I got rid of the wrong shit. Looking back, like I probably had Led Zeppelin RL because I bought it the day it came out. I don't know, and we didn't know what those things were anyway. So, but I purged a third of my collection because of the better CD format.
Yep.
And I bought 180% of them back since.
I made the same mistake. I ran a little record store in a supermarket, and I built my collection up to about 3,000 records. And when the CDs came out, I jumped the wagon, sold the entire collection, and now I'm trying to pick and choose what I get
Luckily,
again
I
on
didn't sell
vinyl.
everything. So, but anyway.
Yeah.
But so I don't hate. I love Ozzy and I respect him. And you're right. I have a son who's now 34, and when the Osbournes came out, what year did it come out? 20. I mean, we would watch the Osbournes, and so everyone learned about Ozzy, even if they didn't know the music. And
Yeah.
it was hysterical. We watched
It
every.
was
Episode.
hysterical.
Yeah. I was in high school when that came out. Yeah, it came out in 2002 and it ran until I think 2005 when I graduated
My
high
son
school.
was 12 then, and we were watching
Yeah.
it. He loved it.
Yeah, I remember
Spot on,
watching
dude.
it. I'm like, this is fucking hilarious.
It was the only
And
reality show I watched.
yeah, because like reality TV really wasn't, a thing. I can remember growing up in the 90s watching because I have 2 older sisters watching The Real World and like Road Rules back then on MTV. Like that was
I
what
remember
was
those.
considered like reality, but the Osbournes was a whole nother level. Like the first episode when he's trying to figure out the remote and he's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Why is the phone ringing? Like I thought it was hilarious. I watched every episode.
How is that man writing music?
Yeah, I'm like,
How
I
did he
loved it.
stand
I thought
up?
it was great.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. Years ago when I lived in Corpus Christi, Texas, it was a kind of a small venue. It was called the Big Sky Venue, and at that time I worked at a radio station. I was a radio guy, and I worked at a station called KRAD, and we played all all rock, Alice in Chains and all that, and Ozzy Osbourne, Typo Negative, and I don't remember the other. Oh, I think it was oh geez, it escapes me. But anyway, we were driving around. We had a KRAD Jeep, and we were driving it around the the concert venue, throwing stickers at people's and such. And then we got backstage, and Ozzy was kind of stumbling through. You really didn't see him much, and he had a whole entire group of people like seamstresses where they were actually sewing stuff. I mean, on staff. And I remember I stole one of the bottles of water from the seamstress, and she got highly pissed off at me and told me to get lost. So it's not much of a great story, but that's one of my Ozzy stories. I did meet Typo Negative though, and got all their autographs on a record that's downstairs somewhere. But thought that was a pretty interesting time. And Ozzy, any condition I think that he was in, he could always, as soon as he got on stage, he was in. That was it, and the show was on.
Agreed.
Throw your shirt off and rock it. So it was, what a great man he was.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to see Sabbath back in 20, I think, what was it, 14 or 13. They were playing in Phoenix, and I was at a military training exercise in Yuma, Arizona, only like 2 hours away. And we had the weekends off. And looking back, my wife was like, I can buy tickets. I can drive, because I was stationed in San Diego, and she was going to drive down, pick me up, and we were going to go. And looking back, damn it, I should have went. But, duty calls, as they say. So
Sure. I went to Live Aid with a bunch of friends in Philadelphia, and we snuck in with a big cooler, a 2-liter bottle of 7 and 7s and a 2-liter bottle of Bloody Marys and just tons of other stuff that we were not supposed to. And then we put legitimate food on top of it all so that when we were going in, the guards would just, they didn't have time to check everything. They'd open the lid, say, okay, it looks like food, go in. So we went in and it started at 7 in the morning, the concert. And me and my friend Glenn had the cooler and we were like, when should we start drinking? We're preparing for a long day, and they started out with some folk music and the Hooters, a local band. And then all of a sudden, Ozzy comes out with Black Sabbath and loud. And we just looked at each other and said, let's break it out.
Time to start drinking.
While Ozzy was singing Iron Man and 2 other songs, me and my friend devoured 4 liters of alcohol. Our entire 2-liter of Bloody Marys and 2 liters of 7 and 7s were done by the end of Ozzy's show. And then, unfortunately, that means I passed out for the Thompson Twins or Spandau Ballet or somebody like that. But
sorry to hear that,
Ozzy. Appreciate it.
So I'll dive in. I'll share because I've been kind of quiet. I actually got my introduction to Black Sabbath scared the living crap out of me, to be fair. So I went over to my uncle's house. My uncle had a roommate who was a record collector and he had tons of records, and that's just what you did back then. And I'm flipping through the records, right, as a young kid, and I come across the Black Sabbath first, self-titled, and it looks freaking evil. Like, as a kid, that's a scary cover, man. It's an evil, scary cover.
It was meant to be, right?
What's that?
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be, right? And it scared the living crap out of me. And of course, I have no idea or a concept of what this music sounds like. And my uncle's roommate's like, I'll put it on for you. He puts it on. He puts on the Black Sabbath song. And I'm just like, this is the most evil crap that I ever heard in my life. I mean, it's talking about Satan's coming and all this stuff. I'm like, I had nightmares for like the longest time. I wouldn't even go over to my uncle's house because I thought his roommate was like a Satan worshiper. Like that was my impression, my very first impression of Black Sabbath. It scared the crap out of me.
I think in that LP, it actually came with like a poster. It was kind of like this weird kind of.
I thought it came with a bat's head.
No, that was later, Larry.
No, yeah.
I don't remember it's funny. I don't remember being scared of it because I was 16 years old. No, well, I would have been 15, 16 when the first album came out, but still, I was listening to so much stuff and it wasn't any creepier than some psychedelic music. I mean, it was different, obviously, and heavier, but I just remember even, FM radio, we had KMPX and KSAN. So freeform radio, kind of one of the areas it started was in 67 in San Francisco. And the DJs could play anything. It wasn't programmed yet until the later 70s, when all the corporations started buying it. But they would play things, and you'd mix a Black Sabbath song with a Grateful Dead song, with a Dylan song or a folk song, or even a classical Pachelbel Canon in D thing.
It's like a freeform radio, man.
Seriously, and you could there would be African music. There would be all kinds of stuff. So I feel, I use the word blessed for me, but I was exposed to so much stuff. They'd play Ravi Shankar before this kind of music too, and so it just all seemed to fit together. So even some soul music or more funky stuff, maybe so much. Not really Motown by that point. They got away from Motown, but doing the soul, Sly Stone, of course, that stuff. So music wasn't segregated as much on those stations. I mean, yeah, it was more white bands and things, but obviously Jimi Hendrix, and I was into Pink Floyd a lot. That was a band. I think with Black Sabbath, I got more into the Pink Floyd type stuff and Hendrix stuff, and than that. But that's a great thing. You just got turned on to everything. So you didn't, like Prague, King Crimson around that time too. And yes, but we didn't call it prog. There was no subgenres that there was folk music, jazz, blues, rock. It wasn't, there was nothing like, I don't think I knew what shoegaze was until 10 years ago, or all these different subdramas, or college rock or math rock or whatever the fuck they call it now.
So what you're trying to
these
say,
are real things. I'm not making these up.
So what just happened there is Mazzy called me a sissy. That's just what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
he did.
I'm gonna do my Hulk Hogan impression. Rest in peace, Hulk.
brother.
Yeah, we have brother.
Woo!
So
Yeah, he's
Jan
right
put out
here,
the
guys.
challenge. Where's the tattoo, Mazzy?
Yeah.
I have
The
one
Ozzy
tattoo.
tattoo.
I have one tattoo, but I copyrighted myself the year I was born. When I turned 50, I copyrighted myself. And a lawyer friend of mine saw it and he goes, "You can't copyright yourself. You have to patent yourself." So I fucked that up too. That's the only tattoo I have. No Ozzy tattoo.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that, man. That's okay.
But then I went
patent
somewhere
lawyer.
and the woman, when I got that tattoo, this is, I know, get off topic, but she said, "Well, where do you want?" She said, "Why don't we could put it here, right where your t-shirt stops. But what about in your wrist?" And I said, "I'm Jewish. I can't have numbers on my wrist." And she got all flustered.
Oh my
She
God.
like I'm for bad taste humor. Everything works
Yes.
for me.
Not good,
But
man.
she thought she really offended me when she's said
As long as you didn't get the no regrets. No regrets tattoo.
No
That's
regrets, yeah.
no regrets.
Yeah,
Prison
that's a good comment. It was just music. You either got it or you didn't. Exactly. That's how it was.
Isn't that right though?
Yeah. And I've always, the groups that have always, Todd, we just talked about it last night. Sometimes the groups that really changed my life and my taste and everything were very difficult to classify. Were they a rock band? Were they a jazz band? Were they a prog band? Because they changed, and we, even within one song, sometimes you're like, wait a minute, what the heck is this? They have different nuances that they touched on. And King Crimson, was King Crimson a prog band when they first came out within the Quarter of Crimson? No, there was no,
Right.
and the same thing with Black Sabbath. There was no Black Sabbath back then. There was no heavy metal. Now it's easy to say, but
I
they were the first.
discovered on YouTube and doing vinyl community videos. One of a video I did years ago was called I'm paraphrasing. It's a prog music for people who don't like prog music. And I took a left of center. I took an over the top thing, and I realized after the comments, prog fans, massive big prog. No offense to you guys, they have no sense of humor because I was talking, and they say, "Well, that's not a prog band, or not Pearl Jam, Pink Floyd, or what's prog?" I make shit up. And then I started talking about, Bill Bruffer's on every other album. If he's otherwise, it's not a prog record. And it's 18 time signatures and different things. And there is it's easy to mock it, but some people, we all take our bands personally, me with the Beatles or something.
Sure.
And sometimes you get very defensive. And I do like going back to Ozzy, that he was such a massive Beatle fan. And that clip when he meets Paul McCartney is like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's funny. You mentioned about people liking certain things and other people just not maybe getting it at the time. I had a friend at work that was telling me that he had just gone to a King Crimson concert the night before, and he was sitting in his seat, and he saw the band came out and they started tuning their instruments. And he said they were tuning their instruments for over an hour and 30 minutes, and then they left. And he's like,
actually the concert.
"What the hell? That was the concert."
There you go. That's prog rock.
Yes, right.
In those days, so again, going back to the Winterland and Fillmore shows, Bill Graham would mix Miles Davis and Ravi Shankar and Aretha Franklin and Pink Floyd and the Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane and Janis. I mean, they would mix genres sometimes.
It's genius.
John Lee Hooker and Buddy Guy at the Fillmore. So we didn't boo things off. You hear years later where Prince opens up for the Stones and they boo Prince off, or some, or the Devo opens up, or whoever it is. If it's not, sometimes these bands want this opening act. I saw Neil Young once at the Cow Palace, and he had Sonic Youth open up. And if you know their music, it's screechy and noisy, and I like it, but it's not for everybody. And people were booing and walking out to get beers and stuff during their set.
People really need to keep an open mind when you're a music lover. Stevie Ray Vaughan got booed off stage when he played the Montreux Jazz Festival.
Yeah, I did.
And
it's
easy to buy, but it's not jazz. But is it great music that jazz lovers should appreciate? I did, but they didn't know him yet. And he went back there 5 years later and got standing ovations playing the same music he did 5 years earlier that he got booed for.
Well, it's like Dylan at Newport,
Yeah.
or I mean,
Yep.
that happens all
Same
the
thing.
Yeah.
Can we please stop one thing though? These opening acts that are just DJs playing. I'm sorry, I can't stand it. I can't. Every time I see an opening act and it's just some DJ up there, like, yeah, come on. It's like, really?
It's cheaper.
If I wanted to go to like a rave or something, I go to a rave, man.
it's
What are you
cheap.
talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Larry don't know what you're talking about.
I'm so not hip. I don't understand what you're saying.
He's not.
What
Are you serious?
what are you guys talking about? An opening act where it's a DJ?
Yeah, DJs.
Yeah.
Now there is legitimate DJs performance like DJ Shadow and those kind of things, but I get it at certain things. It depends on the situation, but I totally get it. If it's a major act, you don't need that. But I remember days when they had comedians open up for rock bands. That could be fun. It could loosen up. It just
Some
depends.
rock bands are so bad they could be seen as a comedy act. Same thing.
That's true.
You're nuts. So, kind of going back a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Mitch, down there, I see you that you have that Sabotage album there. Yeah. What do you say? What do you think about all that? I mean, that was an interesting time for the band.
Yeah, I think this is my overall favorite. I'm having the glare here. Let me take it out. So
Mazzy don't like glare. I'm just
yeah, I
telling
know he
you.
doesn't
You
like
paid
glare. So,
attention.
yeah, I did pay
I've
attention. I
been
did my
paying
homework.
attention,
So
Ozzy.
yeah, I think this is my favorite Ozzy Sabbath album. Is probably Sabotage. I think it's really, really different. I mean, this was what 75, I think.
5, I think.
And songs like Hole in the Sky and The Writ, like it was completely different. And I think that's what I really liked about it, is that it was really, really, really different. So yeah, I'd say this is my favorite Ozzy Sabbath album, and then I'd say probably second is Heaven and Hell from the Dio years.
Yeah.
My
Good.
number 2. That one
That pulled me back in. That pulled me
You got
back
the
in.
album. You got the T-shirt. Do you have a sabotage tattoo as well?
No, I got a bunch of tattoos, but
Come on, man, show it.
I wish
Do you
I
have a
did.
decoder ring? Oh,
He's got the undies.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. And then, so, I mean, besides Sabotage, Mitch, other than what is that favorite Sabbath and or Ozzy solo?
I mean, probably Blizzard of Oz. I mean, to be honest, after Blizzard of Oz, I really didn't. Like the greatest hits and stuff. That was really. I really like a lot of the solo stuff that he did, but I'm not like per se like an album guy. I do need to get an original pressing of Blizzard of Oz. I mean, I would like, or Rhino Hi-Fi should maybe reissue that now.
I could ask you guys a question. I want you guys to turn me on to something, okay? I have no solo Ozzy. What's the one album that they probably all won't agree, but seriously, the one album, not just that, yeah, you like it, it's not really great, but it's your favorite, but is that a CD? Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
the
it
tribute.
is. This is the tribute with Randy Rhoads. That's a keeper. That's a
I
keeper.
would say,
But that doesn't seem like that would be the best. And maybe,
No.
am I wrong?
I
The
would
best
say, to
one-
be honest, Mazzy, like probably Blizzard of Oz, because that's got Crazy Train, Mr.
Okay.
Crawley.
I mean, I've heard the music all. Like,
Yeah, I would say
separately.
that's the one that you need. It's probably
Okay.
Blizzard.
I
of
would
Oz.
agree.
Disagree?
Yeah,
Todd, you
no, I
see?
would agree.
Yeah,
I think Mitch
Mazzy,
is-
I'm going to go with Diary of a Madman.
Yeah.
no?
Okay, yeah, that one's actually decent.
It's an extremely underrated album, but the orchestration, and when I say orchestration, I'm not talking about an orchestration there, an orchestra. It's just the way that it was produced so well, and it just takes you through a whole entire experience. When you hear Over the Mountain, and then everything that was done there was so well done. And I will tell you that I partook in a lot of and when I listened to that album, especially before school,
What?
and I was lipstick. My lips were always chapped, and absolutely the best album ever. Honestly, stream it. It is worth picking up, and
Okay.
it's. I mean, obviously, it's supposed to be played on vinyl.
I
That's
have the
always
Apple
break it up.
Music. I can stream it in my car when.
Yeah, for sure.
I I do thank you guys for inviting me here because I know I'm the unlikely choice, as I said at the beginning, just because I'm old and I've been to the shows. But I know Chance, concert buddy, said something about my tattoo earlier, and I keep thinking because I have this reputation, which is unfounded, that when someone dies, I always make a video on it, and I don't. It's only people that I really, really, really like connect with. So it's bullshit. And I realized I'm the only fucking VC person who hasn't done a tribute on Ozzy. There's been thousands of them.
You just
So
did
this
right
is
now.
my tribute in a way.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate that.
We appreciate that. Mazzy, I want to go back to your question though, because No More Tears is probably arguably you just got the top 3, I think, between
No More
all the
Tears is in
albums.
it?
Yeah. I mean, that has the famous
Basically, I
Mama
need the
Went
box
Home.
set, as you're telling me, right?
No, don't get the box. You don't need all 13 albums.
Yeah, I heard that is not a good box set.
And
But-
are those 3 on Warner's? Were they on Warner's? Do you know? Warner Brothers?
Actually, I
don't know.
Let me
maybe
see.
they
I got
were.
it here.
Oh yeah, you got Blizzard of Oz.
Yeah, this is actually on Jet Records, which I'm sure it was a subsidiary.
That
of
was
something.
part of Columbia.
Yeah.
Because that was, it was on Jet. ELO was Jet.
ELO was Jet Records,
Right,
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
Columbia. So I
Yeah.
didn't. Okay.
So, Todd, you actually have a story, I think, related to Blizzard of Oz.
I do actually. So at this time I lived, I was visiting up north in Wisconsin, and I kept to find out that the Blizzard of Oz tour was playing. I believe Motley Crue was playing with them, and it's brand new. Motley Crue was a starting band. They pretty much kicked ass. And on the way to the concert, which is about an hour away, and we were driving down the road, and sure as shit, a badass blizzard blew in. And it just so happens that we decided before we left home that we were going to drop some mushrooms. And unfortunately, halfway through the trip, we had to pull over on the side of the road and laugh in the snowbank for at least 20 minutes to get it out of our system and then get back on the road. And here's the interesting part of it. We got in there, it's a huge coliseum at Dane County in Madison, Wisconsin. And we get in there, and Ozzy, Motley Crue's kicking ass. Everybody's getting into it. We're having a blast of a time. And then it just kept snowing outside. And so finally, Ozzy Osbourne comes out and he goes, "Look, everybody, the roof is full of snow and we don't want anybody to be in danger. So go off to the concourse, go out. And I promise you that we're going to play tonight." So we all sat out in the concourse. Everybody was lighting up, the usual business. And it had to have been 20, 30 minutes later. I guess they turned on the heat things or whatever, and the snow was off, safe, go in. And Ozzy kicked ass through that concert. And it was excellent. I mean, he had, at that time, the big steps coming down, and he had his robe, and he opened it up and the bats flew out. And man, it was an incredible show. And you know how they had the keyboardist at the very top of the left of the stage, kind of, light green light. And, he was playing, all the keyboard parts. I will never forget that time. And I have to say, I was looking for my ticket stub. I have millions of them. They're all over the place. But I wanted to find that ticket stub from that concert. It was like, I don't know, 1982 or 81 or 82. But I absolutely loved that concert. And, of course, we all recovered and had a good story to talk about for several months.
That's an awesome story.
Did you tell your Navy recruiter that for the drug waiver portion?
I did. I actually told him that I was on acid regularly.
Just say you're into agriculture. And
it was agriculture, right? Don't panic. It's organic is kind of what I was telling him.
There you go.
Telling him in. So it all worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, the Navy will take you. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, the Marines wouldn't take me. Yeah, but that's my my Ozzy story, which was kind of a fun one.
Louis Zachary has a great comment here about the heavy metal movie, and I'm in full agreement. The movie itself, the animation, and the songs that it introduced or brought to people's attention really got a lot of people to listen to a lot more music than they may have been exposed to previously. It was excellent.
The unlikely addition of that, Devo was on that soundtrack.
Yes, they were.
Doing work in a coal mine. And
Yep.
Warner Brothers liked that so much, they stuck a 7-inch in that album. That it was too late to add it to the record. So they included a 7-inch on there with third or fourth record. I forgot which one.
Mazzy, I think there was a Star Wars movie where they had a band playing in the bar, and they were inspired by Devo. Those characters that playing in that
sure.
band in the bar.
We had a Devo cover band.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting thing. Speaking of cover bands, and I was thinking about this, especially the last few days, but I've thought about it before, and I've seen Ozzy Osbourne cover bands before, and I have never heard anyone emulate that voice. It was such a unique voice, the way he sang, the way he could be high, and it's just the timbre, right, of his voice was so amazing. And I don't think you can actually reproduce that. Guys, what do you think? Have you ever heard anybody actually really reproduce, like in a tribute band, a cover band, the Ozzy thing? I've never heard it. Not anything good, anyway.
Yeah, no, Todd, I've never have, man. It's a good call out because his voice magically also just floated above all the heavy metal behind it, all the guitars, and it never got lost. It always was a great separation between his vocals and the music behind it, which I think is part of what makes it legendary. I don't know what octave or whatever he sings that, man, but it is legendary.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Yeah. And the moment he opens his mouth, it's him. You could be in a dark room. No, don't even know who Ozzy is. You'll know that voice. Yeah.
There's a guy in the vinyl community. I don't know if you ever know 6-inch pianist, John.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, great guy. And most of his stuff is R&B, soul, funk music. He is one of my favorite channels because I learned so much about that kind of stuff. But the cool thing about it, and obviously he's a fan because he lives and grew up in Birmingham. So it would have been good to have someone from Birmingham. And I've learned you got to say it like Birmingham. You don't say Birmingham. You got to say it
without the H.
Birmingham. But, I mean, they went crazy, obviously, the last few weeks during the reunion, that show and that thing. But, that's a major force in music, obviously ELO and other bands too, but Northern England stuff. So we got to mention Birmingham. That's what we got.
Right, yeah. Just because it's cool to say.
Well, Birmingham's cool to say, and that's where they grew up.
Yeah,
the Birmingham Blues, a good song from the Out of the Blue album.
I mean, do you guys remember when there's a story when Ozzy had auditioned? Well, I wouldn't say auditioned, but he had put something on like a band board where you sign up and you're looking for groups. Ozzy something needs a gig. What was it? Ozzy.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah. He mentioned that he had a PA. That was his whole thing. He had a PA. He had his dad buy him a $250 PA set. And actually, that was it, man. And
actually, Tony Iommi actually said, I think the first time they met him, when they met him to like meet up for like their first like what you call like a rehearsal session or whatever, he actually had a pet shoe on a string that Ozzy would like just drag down the street with him. And then Tony said, "Who the hell is this guy? Like what the fuck?"
Perfect. Hire him. Perfect.
But that just goes back to like I know we were talking about earlier, like just how things all kind of work out. Like Tony had that accident in the factory where he cut off the tip of his finger, and with that he was able to create essentially the Black Sabbath sound. Because he had to put like a a metal like thimble on.
I think he started off with like a thimble, and then he taped it up and stuff.
And it created that really dark heavy sound that we all know of today. So I'm like, Fate has a weird way of working, and obviously
sure does.
that changed everything. So
it was Ozzy Zig needs a gig, and then he had in there, I got my own PA and everything, and I'm sure they loved him immediately. I found a little trivia question for all of us to see who gets this one. What is Ozzy Osbourne's very first band? It was Rare Breed. He joined it in 1967. It's ChatGPT. It could be completely off, but he's teamed up, I guess, with Geezer Butler and Bill Mord. So he knew these guys. It was after Rare Breed. I apologize. And then And then there was a band he was in called Earth. Now I've seen the album Earth, and I don't know much about him. Do you guys see Earth?
Earth is pre-Black Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if I've ever seen an Earth. I mean, I think I've seen Earth albums around, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, do
Sure
you
it's
guys
not the same.
you guys prefer? I know there's. I'm not going to get into pressings on this, and this is not
Yeah.
about Vertigo or anything. But I prefer the American track list to the first album than the UK track list. With what do you guys? How do you guys? With that one track on, was it side one, side two, the opening track?
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
think
You guys are the experts.
I was looking at
I
Nick,
grew up
man.
there.
He's wearing he's all he's the
I think I'm more. I like Evil Woman better because it was Wicked World was the one on the American.
Yeah, I
pressing.
love that Wicked World. Yeah.
I love it too, to be honest. But I mean, I kind of like Evil Woman
Okay.
a little bit more because I prefer obviously the UK Vertigo. I do. I did the
Good. Keep
comparison.
flashing that album cover. You're gonna give somebody
you know,
nightmares.
Scare the hell out of
You've got a
somebody.
lot
I
of
actually
What are you doing?
nightmares.
I actually did the comparison on my channel a
Gotta be
couple
able to
weeks
sleep.
ago. With
Is that a
and Rhino.
Vertigo? Is that a Vertigo that you have there?
It's a
Look at you.
1971 fourth pressing that
Okay.
uses the Vertigo plates. And I compared it to Kevin Gray's cut. And I preferred the Vertigo a little bit more because I think it had more of the bass. But the Paranoid was much better than the UK. Kevin's cut was so much better.
Those are my
And I don't.
two favorite albums by Sabbath, the first two.
Yeah, I mean,
Just for me.
I really Kevin did a phenomenal job, and I even recommended to people like if you just don't have the first album, buy the Rhino Hi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's a steal right now because greenies are really hard to come by now in good condition, and now they're only going to go up in price, I think, because now Ozzy's dead.
Greenies
So-
are great for any friggin' record you
Yeah.
find. Just buy it,
Yeah.
whatever it is, whatever the
Yeah.
title is.
Mm-hmm.
And pass it on if you don't like the music. But I shouldn't say that. Music first. I know music's stupid, but a greenie just for some reason, I don't know what Warner Brothers did on all, whether it's a Grateful Dead or even the Doobie Brothers or Black Sabbath or just anything on those records, right? Cooter, whatever. So
So Louis, did you have you had a couple of selections that I know you got some of the Black Sabbath, but did you get any of the like solo stuff from Ozzy?
was a big collector of the solo stuff, to be honest with you. You know, I've had stuff and it's come and gone, but never really was held on to it. Now I kind of wish I did, to be honest, retrospect. But, I was a guy who sold my vinyl collection, went to CDs, sold my CDs, went to MP3s, deleted my hard drive, went to streaming, and then started to go back to vinyl again. Right. So I've done the full circle. I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of anything again.
I think you're the only person on earth that actually did that, Louis.
Yeah. Well, and I also skipped the cassette era, right? I used to have the cassettes as well. Used to carry around that the zipper bag where it had like the plastic and had all your cassettes, and you could carry it with you, put it in your Walkman.
Dude, I had the suitcase that you put 64 cassettes on one side,
right?
Flipped it around and put 64 more in. I filled that up and had a ton more. Like you, Lou, I went from vinyl to CDs. I had cassettes. I had some 8-tracks. And then I went full blast into CDs. And then somebody I worked with was getting rid of his entire CD collection to go totally digital. And there was something there that I was like, I don't know about that. I like having what I bought, I don't, I'm nervous about anything else, so I never got rid of that stuff.
His hard drive crashed. Is that what happened? Lost everything?
Little magnet next to his collection,
Yeah, okay.
I started collecting vinyl back in 2003 when I was a junior in high school, where there was nothing. Like I had to go to garage sales, and I was just obsessed with it because my uncle had a vinyl record player. I'm like, wow, this just sounds so much, because that's what he told me. He's a musician himself, and he's like, you've got to hear this on vinyl. And so then that's when I started, collecting vinyl. I'd go to garage sales, and then I joined the military.
Was cheap then too, which is good.
Yeah. And then when I was stationed in California for a while, and California had great record stores,
Yeah.
so I was able to go get a bunch of stuff there, and then I deployed a bunch um, for like a span of 10 years, and then it was actually during COVID to where I was able to like really hone in and start collecting again, and start collecting like the right way. I started watching Mazzy, your channel. I started watching Mike from the In Groove. I started watching Melissa or Melinda. I started watching all those guys. Be like, wow, I was just buying everything to buy everything back in the day. Which there's no problem with that. I was a young kid, didn't know, but now it's like I've curtailed, and I'm a very particular type of collector now. Um, so like I like what I like, and so I think we just all go through those phases. But like even growing up in high school, Louis, you and I are almost pretty much the same age, a couple years apart. But I was the guy wearing Pink Floyd shirts back when Green Day, and Limp Bizkit were
Uh-huh.
when rap music was all huge. I was the guy wearing Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath shirts, the Beatles shirts, which is kind of ironic. They're like, you listen to all that hippie music, but yet you join the military. I'm like,
Well,
hey,
yeah.
don't worry about that.
Oh
Don't worry
Ex
God,
about
best Marine.
it doesn't matter. Yeah,
it. It doesn't,
I had
and
a lot
yeah,
of
and no,
friends.
yeah,
Yeah, I had
it,
friends my age. I mean, I'm the age of. I was the last year they did the draft for Vietnam, and I
yeah.
just turned 18. But they hadn't drafted for 2 years, so I didn't get drafted. And that's another. I won't get into that. But but I had a lot of friends or
Right.
siblings of friends that were in the military. But luckily, only two of them I know went to Vietnam. They did other things in the military, but they were into the music. It doesn't really matter, They were
Oh yeah.
the music just the same. As much as you watch Apocalypse Now and hear Jimi Hendrix and Creedence Clearwater, I mean, that was a whole different thing. Where more drugs was involved, unfortunately.
Yeah, defined the generation, didn't it, Mazzy?
Yeah. Pardon me?
I mean, it defined that music defined that generation,
Yeah,
like,
and
Fortunate Son, and
yeah, it's. I mean, growing up with, I mean, again, I sound like back in my day, 19, but there is that thing about growing
Oh
up
yeah.
when the albums came out. And
Mhm.
the one thing, aside from selling a third of my collection in 95, the best thing I ever did, and I didn't think I did it on purpose, but when music became quite unhip, when I was into punk, for instance, a lot of people were getting rid of their prog records and Pink Floyd and Beatles, even sometimes, or Emmylou Harris, whatever. But I didn't do that because, I 5, 6 years punk and post punk and that stuff. And then, by the mid 80s, I wanted to hear Graham Parsons again. I wanted to breed, so luckily I didn't get rid of this stuff. And those records were kind of pristine. Maybe I didn't play them in 5 or 8 years, but they were there. And now it's all intertwined. And you hear Joe Strummer talking about being influenced by Hank Williams or all these bands, and even all that phony Beatlemania is bitten the dust. Those guys like the Beatles,
sure they
Oh
do.
yeah. Mhm.
So
I'm gonna bring this
It,
back to Ozzy
Ozzy.
here for a moment. Go ahead, Mitch.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
oh yeah. No, no. I was gonna say like to Mazzy's point, like you say, like your tagline. It's the music, stupid. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just the music. Like regardless of how you feel about certain things. I'm not gonna get political here, but well, how you feel about certain things or certain artists. It's the music that counts. I can remember, and then we can turn it back to Ozzy. being in Iraq, being in Iraq on my first tour in 2007, we were doing a patrol and I'm in the gun truck and I'm blasting in one ear to keep my other ear open so I could hear my platoon sergeant. I was blasting Pink Floyd Animals, which is completely, a song about greed and everything. I'm like, damn, this is really
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
And I was just enjoying the moment through the Iraqi desert, and that's a memory that always stuck with me is
You
listening to
hear
Pink
music
Floyd
like
Animals.
Ozzy and metal and not so much punk. And when you have in the movie versions of military,
Yeah.
that music is used a lot. And then I don't know how much it reflects to real life, but it sounds like in your example, there's a lot of that happening.
But then I'd go home, I'd go back to my place at night and I'd listen to Miles Davis kind of blue or cooking, or I got a big picture of John Coltrane's Blue Train in here because I'm so much into jazz now more. I've been able to appreciate music more as I've gotten older and to explore different genres. And mainly thanks to guys like you, Mazzy, and you, Louie, and Todd, I can just go appreciate it.
Going back to that first album, on that
Mhm.
track again, I always blank out. You said the name on side 2. That's a jazzy song. You know,
Yeah, it is.
Black Sabbath had a jazzy take
Mhm.
a little bit on that album. I mean, as dark as it is, and as devil worshiping as it is, to be honest with you, I think when I was 16, I wasn't really listening to a lot of lyrics like deep, so I didn't see it as a satanic thing. I saw it just as the music, the guitar, I heard the lyrics, of course, but the music is what hit me, and that jazzy thing, the drumming on that album, man, on that track on side 2. Oh, that's why I like the American one, because I love that.
Mhm.
Mazzy, I have a question, and I know I'm sorry. Then we'll switch back to Sabbath, and I know that we're probably near time here. But you mentioned you let go a third of your records. If there was one that you wish you never let go,
Yeah.
what is the one you let go?
Well, it wasn't one, because part of my thinking, I remember pulling the record and putting in bins for my collection. I was renovating my house. No, it was before that. But anyway, I had moved in 1991. We bought our first house in the Mission District in San Francisco. And I was going through stuff. I think, I'm the band albums, for instance. I got rid of music from I got rid of the first 4 band albums, which are amongst my favorite records. Oh, the CDs are going to be better. I got rid of my Led Zeppelin records, the CDs. I'll get them, and I like the band. It wasn't that I was getting rid of the music, but I was getting. I think I can't remember what date it came out, but remember that CD Led Zeppelin box that the flip top opens up that has the whole
Yeah.
camera. I
Mhm.
bought that. And so I don't need the friggin' records anymore. They're probably like the best friggin' pressings. But we didn't, I don't remember anyone in the record business or beyond, even in the 90s, looking at friggin' dead wax. I didn't know what
Mm.
pressing is anything. But so there's no one album of bands. Luckily, I didn't get any rid of my Beatles or Kinks or Rolling Stones, the Bob Dylan. But there everything I got back again. But I keep my records pristine. When I show records and someone says, "How your cover from 40 years looks pristine?" I just take care of them. And I never had them in plastic sleeves until I started putting them in Discogs during the pandemic. Never had plastic sleeves on them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Baby your records too fucking much these days.
Well, they're worth a lot.
Oh,
And,
we need an
They are worth
outdoor sleeve in Japanese this, and we need an inner sleeve, and we got ultrasonic. And sorry,
throwing Obi strips out. Come on, get rid of that.
right.
Yeah. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to share. This is a bootleg, right? An unofficial release. And here, let me get into the shit. This one here was, I believe, 4 concerts before he died, and I believe it was in Kentucky or Tennessee. This is an awesome. It's obviously a direct from the board recording. It's 4 records. I only have one of them with me. But this is all Randy Rhoads, and I think he was at the height of what he was doing.
Was that ever issued in any form, those tapes on anything?
Nope. It's the only thing. And then here's the interesting thing. It was such a bootleg that it was on Poverty Records. Here, Poverty Records, and some of let's see here. Grace is a Disgrace. These are the names. It's obviously not what's on there. Wild Woman of Frenchtown, and She's a Virgin. They're great tracks. Obviously, Poverty Records. It's the record label that you must sign up for. But
speaks quality.
it speaks quality. I will tell you that this is so good that I play it on a regular basis. And I will tell you the tribute concert, which is a very common record. It's good. It's okay. But for some reason, whatever they did with this one, it's obviously a board recording. It is great. So if you ever see one out in the wild, definitely pick it up. That is the one to have for live. Because they didn't do much with live. He was, it was a very short live, very short life for Randy Rhoads.
How old was he when he died?
And I think bringing it
He
back
was
to
young, 20.
Sabbath, and especially with live stuff, they really didn't have a lot of official live stuff even really come out. I think one of the best things you can do is probably get that double LP. It's called Past Lives, which I don't know. I think that's just from a, a variety of shows throughout the 70s, but that's like the best way to get the quintessential songs from Black Sabbath live, because I think in the deluxe box set, I'm not really a box set guy. I did have the Paranoid box set because I really wanted the live set, I think from like 71 in like San Francisco, I think it was. Um, but those are the only ways to get those albums. I think now, maybe unfortunately with Ozzy's passing, maybe they can go back and be like, release some of those concerts.
Yeah, let's
I
hope.
think they should.
Right.
And
I wonder-
instead of putting it in the box set, so you have to just buy the box set just to get the one thing you want out of it.
I
know,
wonder
there-
about that because Bill Graham at by the Winterland time, he was videotaping just like a lockdown, I think, as I recall, almost everything. And a lot of that stuff you can hear on Wolfgang's Vault, I think. And he would record a lot of that stuff. I don't know. I haven't looked up to see if the Black Sabbath stuff is there, but also the 70s. That's why, you know, you heard that live Springsteen in 78 and you know, of Sex Pistols in 76 and all that stuff. But he was all those Grateful Dead things from Winterland. So there's probably recordings, I mean, off board, and also some, might have been black and white or color video, I don't know, of those shows. Could be around.
There was a lot of those shows, a lot of those releases were put out to combat bootlegs, like the Springsteen that was put out
Right.
specifically
Right.
to combat bootlegs. Black Sabbath had a famous concert that was very, very hard to get, live at Hammersmith Odeon, and then Black Sabbath eventually, I don't know, just about 20 years ago maybe, came out with a re-release of Heaven and Hell. And it was the I forget what it was called, but it was a remastered version of it. But it came out with the original album and the live version of Hammersmith Odeon, because they were sick and tired of the bootlegs not sounding right, and they wanted that show to sound good for the fans. So they released it legitimately as a freebie, so to speak, associated with the re-release of Heaven and Hell.
That's probably, is that the Rhino stuff? Probably.
Yeah, I think it was.
That's
Yeah,
what they're doing now with the replacements and with Talking Heads. Just with this week, I think tomorrow, that Talking Heads with a live show, going back from the time period of the album. Yeah.
yeah.
I think the
I
Rolling
think-
Stones did that too, right, Larry?
Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of bands did
Mhm.
that.
Do we think that Rhino's gonna just do the rest of the Sabbath catalog in the hi-fi?
Well, what I heard, I mean, I don't, sometimes I hear things. I mean, sometimes I'm
Yeah.
told things. I don't know anything now, to be honest with you, except what I heard. Last year, I heard of some stuff that was coming out, and a few things that were told to me last year haven't come out yet. And I think, as Patrick Milligan said, there are a lot of issues. It's not that they don't want to. People say Led Zeppelin. They would love to do Led Zeppelin. We don't even know about the tapes, and you know, they just announced that EP today, Led Zeppelin, and
Yeah, I saw your video.
according
on
to
that.
everyone else, oh, that's from the video. And see, I don't know that much about that. I just did it because I thought it was a cool news story. But they are doing one of them. I don't know which one in their new year. And I think they're going to do them all because Black Sabbath or the management or whoever seems to say, oh, we like what you're doing. They're selling. So, of course, they're going to do them.
Yeah.
I doubt they would do a box now because they've already released 2 of the records. So it'd be sort of weird doing a box since then people like us who bought it would say, wait a second, you ripped me off. I got to buy it again. which they're in the business of doing that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they will. I have no idea about the Ozzy stuff.
Well, Ozzy's box just was released, what, last week?
Really?
Wasn't it last week, his box set with all 13 albums, a bunch of other additional stuff? It was called See You on the Other Side. How ironic was that?
What
I was
was
going to say,
that
great
Rhino?
timing.
Was that
Yeah.
right? Who put that out?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember seeing that as a Rhino. It could be.
I have to look it up. I have to Google it. But yeah, I remember seeing it come out. It was like literally, I think Todd looks like he's looking it up. It was like literally a week ago, like last week it came out.
Huh.
Box set. It ran like $650. I think that's why I didn't get it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
that doesn't sound like a Rhino thing. I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
this is Legacy Recordings and Sony
Oh.
Music, March 14th.
Sony has it. Okay. Well, that makes sense. If he was on Jet, that's Sony.
Yeah.
So
Well, no.
maybe the estate owned the recordings and Warner's didn't for the first ones, and they did it all through Sony. It could be. But Sony, everything is digital. They hardly, that's just.
Yeah. It was 18. It was 18 LPs in that thing.
It was a big box set. Yeah. This is a nice box set.
Hmm.
We covered a lot today, man. We covered some stories about famous Ozzy when he was growing up. We talked about Black Sabbath early years and then the later years. We talked about Osbourne show and his solo career, share some stories about concerts. I'd like to just take a moment as we come to the kind of conclusion of the program, to kind of go around for final comments, maybe final thoughts about Ozzy's legacy, or if you want to share another song or memorabilia token that you didn't get a chance to share. And I encourage the audience to do the same if there's anything you want to share with everyone, a fond memory or a good experience, or the first time you heard Ozzy's music. Please go ahead and share them in the comments. But maybe, Todd, we'll start with you. Just kind of go right around the room and then kind of wrap this
Thank
up.
you. Yeah. I will. I did. Not a lot of folks actually. I don't think we're too hip on Patient Number 9. I got the deluxe set, and it has the Ozzy comic book in it, which is pretty cool. This has got everybody on it. Zakk Wylde, Jeff Beck plays on it. Of course, Tony Iommi plays on it. Eric Clapton plays on it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of excellent guitar players for this. It's an excellent album. It's Ozzy, but it's a little different Ozzy, especially as he brings in the different guitar players. As you know, that he was all about the guitar players at the end of the day. And then, that the little special set came with the Patient Number 9 Ozzy comic book, which I thought was pretty cool. It's got different stories, kind of anime looking things. But if you read through it, it's humorous. At the same time, very typical Ozzy. So Patient Number 9, if you don't have it, I think it's pretty easy to get a hold of.
It's 22, right? It came out just a couple years ago.
Yeah, it was released. Exactly. It was released in 2022. It's two different, two LPs, and it sounds incredible. And really, it's just end to end. It's got a little bit of everything. So I highly recommend picking up Patient Number 9.
That's on Epic. Was waiting for Mazzy to ask.
Yeah, let's see.
That's okay.
Mitch?
I think just with Ozzy's legacy, just in general, as the cliche saying goes, stood the test of time, and he literally did. With the amount of, punishment that he did put on himself, but he was just a guy that never quit. And I think that's what I really respected about him. He started up Ozfest to promote up and coming bands. He did do a lot of great things. And, he's just one of those rock icons that'll just honestly live on forever. I mean, through mainly his exploits, of course, which has become like the stuff of legend, like snorting up the ants with Motley Crue, I think in like 86 or something, he did that. But he was just a guy that, honestly, he just lived life. And the nice things that his family had to say about him too, which I thought was a nice touch. He was a great father. He was a good grandfather. I think that really just shows, he was kind of a wild man, but there was a gentler side to him too, which I thought was really, really good to see. And how ironic was the final song that he sang at that concert was Mama, I'm Coming Home. Like, he kind of foreshadowed and he kind of knew. And there were people crying in the crowd. Like, that's how much Black Sabbath means to a lot of people, even people that aren't really big metal fans. I mean, I don't consider myself a really huge, I love classic metal like Judas Priest and Motorhead and Black Sabbath. And, Black Sabbath, pretty much influenced all of those bands too.
Sure did.
Ozzy and Black Sabbath will just stand the test of time.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And he started Ozfest because what was it?
Lollapalooza.
Yeah, said he wasn't cool or something like that. And
They
he's
told him
like,
that he wasn't.
I'm going to start my own concert. Yeah.
They told him that they don't. Ozzy doesn't fit their image.
Or something like that.
Was like, no, screw you. We're going to do this.
Yeah. Larry?
I'm going to show my age here a little. This is the first time I heard Black Sabbath. And this album literally changed everything with me about music. And in addition to Black Sabbath, I could go through the representations of powerful music on this album, but go check it out for yourself. This is the first time I heard Black Sabbath, Iron Man, and that song changed everything for me when I heard it. And I knew that I needed to listen to more of that, and I did. So
Nice, Blair.
Mr. Mazzy.
At the beginning of this, I mentioned that I just discovered for the first time, I guess, a 14-year-old video that Ozzy covering John Lennon's "How," that song from Imagine, and that's one of them. I cried. He's walking through, I think, New York City. People are watching him, and he's just walking to the sidewalk, and he's doing the song. And that was done, I didn't realize, for Amnesty International. And the thing he did just 2 weeks ago, I think they raised 190 million for health things related to Parkinson's and stuff. And this is the only political thing I'm going to say all night. In a time when health things and needy divisions are being cut and money's being cut from these organizations, whether it's UNICEF, where it's, isolating, not just our country, but isolating our country for these kind of causes. I'm glad there are people, and there was someone like Ozzy who kind of, they uses celebrity to push that kind of stuff. And the combination of, I didn't watch the concert, I didn't see it, I've seen a couple clips. But seeing Ozzy walk down the street singing that John Lennon song, and of course, what ended up happening to John in a different way, that just, I choked me up. You got to watch that video if you haven't seen it. Ozzy Osbourne singing John Lennon's "How." It's on YouTube. Watch it.
Definitely will.
Well, thank you all. It's been a real pleasure having the entire vinyl community here, for all the folks that dialed in from home, watch from home. I keep saying dialed in. See, I show my age. You had to dial into shows like this. You had to wait.
Didn't he? You had the little yellow man running across.
My wife,
You got mail.
Your sister
Exactly.
picks up the
Dial
phone,
in.
calling her boyfriend, be like, "I'm trying to get on the internet."
hold on, I got a problem with my Hayes modem right now. Hang on.
The most excruciating sound in the
9600
world.
baud.
Yeah.
I have a closet full of those AOL CDs in my closet.
Oh God.
I just wanted to say thank y'all. I think Ozzy's one of those people that, I don't know if he's going to rest in peace, but he'll sure rest in power. And he's definitely, his legacy is going to continue on. I hate to say it in this way, but I kind of look forward to what comes out of the catalog sense now, in many ways. I don't mean that in like a disrespectful way, but usually this gets people to really put care and attention into some of the music, and maybe there's things that we haven't heard before that maybe we'll have an opportunity to hear now. But I hate that that's what that, like, I'm even making that comment. But as somebody who loves music and really appreciate what Ozzy has brought to everyone from an entertainment standpoint. He's not just a rock star, he's an entertainer. Ozzy was a persona.
For sure.
John was a husband and a father, so just different, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, just wanted to say really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us,
everybody
my
being
friend.
on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Mazzy.
nice to meet you,
Thank you.
Nice to meet
Mazzy.
you all. Thank you.
Really-
Thank you for
really
allowing
meeting
me,
you.
a lightweight music lover, to get into this, you guys metalheads.
Lightweight. Okay. Yeah, that's great. All right. Thanks, you guys. That was
See you
really,
later.
really a lot of fun. Hope we can do it again.
Thank you, guys.
Agreed.
Yeah.